Hey guys, so what we're going to be working on today is actually stripping all this paint and clear coat off of this wheel, off of a 1986 Iroc. So the deal with this is the gentleman who had this car before me, he painted this black, and I think he put some paint on this, and from a distance it doesn't look bad, but I just want to clean it up, get it looking good. Now these rims originally were like a gray color, and as I strip this down it kind of gets back to the original gray color. For about 200 bucks a rim, I could have these redone or have another set sent to me. So like I would give these rims to a local company, and then they would give me a set that they've already redone back in the original gray. But I really don't want my wheels being the original gray color. So my deal with this is I'm going to use Aircraft Ultra Paint Remover, and it's kind of thick like gel, and you just kind of dab it on, and you got to dab it on pretty thick. My plan with these wheels are all this in here is going to be polished, and then I'm going back and painting all this black and all of this in here black. So my process may be a little different than yours, but starting out, you do have to strip all this off. Now, when you do this, it's going to strip your clear coat and everything off. So my plan with this is to strip this off. I've already got one of them about 75% done. Strip all this off, then you've got to sand it about 3 times. After you sand it about 3 times, then you go back and you got to polish. Take your time and polish every bit of this, okay? And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to tape all these lines off, and I'm going to paint this back black. Okay, so this is a hard process. It's going to take me about 8 hours to do one rim and get it complete. Now, some people may say, well, that's too long. You could do it quicker, but I'm just doing this on the side. I mean, I'm not an everyday mechanic or a body shop man or whatever, but I'm just doing this on my own. So my first step is I've got to put some of the paint remover on here. You got to let it set for about 30 minutes. You want to do this in the shade, the cool of the day. This stuff absolutely smells horrible. I mean, it's the worst smelling stuff I've ever smelled. So you do not want to be doing this inside. If you are, you need to make sure you have a well ventilated place to do this at. It took, on my first rim I did, it took me two or three coats to get it right. The reason you want to do it in the cool of the day and not in the sun, because the sun will actually bake it on there, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process of putting the remover on here and see what happens. All right, guys, I got the paint remover on there. You can kind of see it's already doing its job a little bit. I'll put it on there. You need to put it on pretty thick, pretty heavy. I don't think you can get by with one coat. You can see here it's already eating that paint off there. So I'm going to give it about 30 minutes. When it gets a good bubble on it, that's when you know you can start scraping. Now, as far as scrapers go, don't make the mistake I did on the first one. I used a metal scraper, and it actually scratched these wheels, and I had to do a lot of sanding. I bought these right here, these nylon plastic ones, okay, from Lowe's for like $1.50 a piece. Also, if you buy one of these little scrapers here, that'll help a lot. You want to make sure that you either use brass or nylon to scrape this off. This has a scraper tool on the bottom of it, okay? So give it about 30 minutes. If it's not bubbling after 30 minutes, then you didn't put it on thick enough. So scrape what you can off of it and then put another layer. You can see it's coming off in places already. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes. You can see it's bubbling pretty good in certain places. Other places, not so much. Maybe I missed those spots. You can see I've not even done any scraping yet, and it's already eating off here. So been about 30 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves back on and start doing some scraping and see how much of this I can get off. So this is what it looks like after the first coat. Now, I did the first coat yesterday, ran out of daylight, and you can see this right here. This is clear coat that has dried back to it. This is why I said earlier, make sure you do this in the cool of the day because it will dry up on you. So I'm gonna apply another layer of the paint remover on here, and that should pretty much do it. After that, I'll get in here and I'll scrape real good with my brushes. I'll get all this clear coat off. So I'm going to put one more layer on this, and then I'll rinse it off and show you what it looks like before I start sanding. So here it is after the second coat. Next job is to start sanding it, you can see you're not going to get everything. You can actually see in here, you can see some of the original gray starting to come back through. But my plan for these are, I'm going to, like I said, polish all of this, polish the lip, and then inside the spokes here and here, I'm going back with black. So it's going to be polished aluminum with black inserts and the black lines in the spokes. 2 coats worked for me. Like I said, you can see some more right here that just didn't come off. And that's just part of it. Once you sand, the rest of it will come off when you sand it. So that's going to be my next process. I'm going to take this rim. I'm going to sand all of this. You got to use like 3 different types of sandpaper. I can't remember which ones I use, but once I start sanding on it, I'll let you know which types of sandpaper and what grit I'm using. But this one turned out a whole lot better than my first one. My first one, like I said, I use a metal scraper, and these rims are scraped up pretty good. The other one was. So I had to do a lot of sanding on it. So I shouldn't have to do as much sanding on this one. So that'll be my next process. So whenever I get to that part, I will make another video and try to merge all these together. All right, you can see I'm getting ready to start the sanding process. I already have a little bit. I'm doing this by hand. This is 180 grit. Now the deal with that 180 is these Irocs have these ribs in them, lines you can feel down through here. Okay, I want rid of these lines. So by getting rid of the lines, I'm using 180. If you use 180 grain grit sandpaper, it's going to make this smooth through here. You won't have these ribs anymore. Once I'm done sanding, I'm going to sand it 2 or 3 times. Once I'm done sanding, okay, then I'll go through and I'll start polishing all of this, the lip, all the way around, all these spokes, and then here and here is going to be black. So sanding process is going to take about 3 or 4 hours. Now one thing you can do is if you have a DA sander like this, you can get it on here. And sand it also. But the little one we have is broke right now, so this is a 6-inch, and it's a little harder to do. So basically I'm able to get this in here and the lip, but I'm gonna have to go back with regular hand sandpaper and get in here, and then the inside of the lip. Okay, so here it is after I've sanded it. I did 180 on the first go around, 320 on the second. That right there is where a weight was at. I'm gonna have to figure a way to get that out. But it's been sanded twice. I got all the ribs out. Now it's time to start polishing. So I started the polishing process. You can kind of see this is one that I've got halfway finished, and you can still see here where I've not finished it yet. So you can kind of see the difference. Now this is just polishing them up, making them shine. I'm gonna go back over with some stuff called mothers to actually get all the little fine things out of them. So I've got this one done and this one done and part of this one. So this takes about 2 hours to go over and polish all this. So I'm just using an air tool with a wheel on it, and really don't know what this stuff is called, but that's what I'm using to eat the rest of the stuff off. All right, so here's the rim, what it looks like after I've polished it, and then I went over it with Mothers. Now, Mothers is mag and aluminum polish, perfect for all metals. So this is what it looks like now that I've taken all the paint off. I've sanded it 2 times. I have polished the aluminum 2 times, and then I went over it with the Mothers. Now, I learned something every time I do this. After doing the first rim, I learned that I went too fast on the polishing. So on this one, I really slowed down on my polishing. But also on this wheel, I learned that the little ribs that's in here, I got all of them out in here pretty good. But I didn't do a good job sanding on this area, the lip, and in here. So it kind of made it a little bit harder job of polishing because your polish would actually get stuck in those little grooves or ribs, and it was just a nightmare to get out of there. So on the next one I'll make sure I do a lot better job sanding the lip and sanding the inside area here, so that way when I do polish it'll look a lot better. So the next step is I got to tape all the polished area off now, and we're going to paint all this black. We're going to paint in here black, all this in here black, and then on the back side of the rim, I'm going to do a quick sand on the inside of the rim, and we're also going to paint the inside of the rim black. So once we get it taped off and painted, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, go ahead. So here's the finished product. You know, I've got a few places in here that didn't come out when I sanded them. I sanded them twice, but the scratches are actually in the aluminum itself. So to get it all the way out, I'd have to sand them, paint, let it dry for a week or so, sand it, let it, paint it, let it dry, and repeat that process until I actually sand out every one of these little scratches. But for me, I'm tickled to death the way it turned out. Took about, I want to say, 8 hours on this rim to get it this way. I have another one that's on the paint stand over there. Okay, it still needs another coat or so on it, and then we'll peel the paint off of it, and hopefully it'll turn out like this one. So these are the two back ones. Still got to do the two front ones, and then we'll have them completed.